Good morning, my name is Mike Panaki. I own Network Protocol Specialists. For the last 10 years, we've been traveling around the United States delivering the CCTT program on behalf of Fluke Networks. And we've trained thousands of people on how to use the Versiv line of equipment, the DSX 5000, 8000, OptiFiber Pro, and CertiFiber Pro to go in and certify cabling systems. And we're big believers in this program that by going through and taking the time to learn how to use this equipment properly, you're going to get the most out of the equipment, and it's going to reduce the opportunity for any issues as you're going through, because we know that if a test isn't set up properly, if you haven't set the right test limits, if you haven't gone in and configured it properly, we can result in a situation where you might have to go back and retest, and that costs money. So our goal is to help make sure that you or your staff are getting the most out of this equipment. So over the years, we found that while we're doing public classes and we're doing on-site classes that are they're targeted at specific groups of people within an organization, there was still a group of people we were missing. And that was the people that couldn't attend a public class because we just weren't in the area, we weren't coming onto their site, or they needed the training before we were going to get to the area they were in. So over the last 6 months, we've been working on putting together an online version of the CCTT class. And one of the biggest things that we wanted to address as part of that is the ability to touch the analyzer. Now, many of you may already have a Versiv analyzer, and you can use that at your desk while you're going through the class. But for somebody that doesn't have the tester yet, we wanted to make sure that they had a way to get in there. So what we're going to look at as part of this demonstration is how you can use a web browser to access one of the Versiv units that I have here in the studio. So I've got a dozen Versiv mainframes in here that we can use as part of the training. So the exercises that we do in the training are set up so that you can access that remotely. Now, the nice thing is it doesn't require you to install any software. What it does require is an HTML5 browser. So I have run that off of my phone, I've run it off of a tablet, I've run it off of a PC. So there's all kinds of ways we can get in there and access that Versiv, and you're clicking on the screen just like you were sitting right there in front of the Versiv. So what I'm going to do, and I don't want to do this to distract too much from as I'm going through the presentation, but I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in an IP address. And then I'm going to put in a user ID. And a password. So what you're going to find is that in that chat window right there, if you go out and you go to that web address, you're going to see a little login screen. In fact, let me just switch over here to this other PC, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to come over here to this desktop, and I'm going to bring up the web browser on that. And I'm going to go out to that address. And you know what? That's not going to work from inside my network. See if we got that right. So when you go out to that web page, you're going to get a little thing like this that says NPS Networking Lab. And if we come in and we type in that user ID, we type in the password, then what that's going to do is it's going to bring this screen up right here. Now this screen is going to show 12 Versivs. And what will happen is if you come in and click on one of those Versivs, so I see somebody's already connected to Versiv 81, and in fact, if I look over here at the wall, I can see you clicking around in there. So I can see that you just went back out to the home screen. So the nice thing with this is this gives me the ability to see that you're connected in, and if you're doing an exercise, to see where you're at. So what we do is we put a name in there with each one of them. Now what you're going to find is that when it comes to scrolling up and down, there's a few little challenges. There's some things that we're still working out in that area, but the exercises are designed to mitigate any of those issues. But by being able to come in and connect into these Versiv units, this allows you to go in and use those to do the exercises. So this is a big step that we had to overcome to be able to do these particular classes. So what we're doing is we're running these classes in a time frame that's appropriate for the area you're in. So we offer both a West Coast and an East Coast one. So the East Coast class will start at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So we'll start at 5 a.m. here in Seattle, and the West Coast will start at 8 a.m. And so this way we can go in, you're appropriate for that time zone you're in. We can go in and do that training. So I highly encourage you that if you want to give that a shot, go ahead and log into Guacamole. And I'll just go ahead and grab Versiv 70 right here. All right. We'll grab 71. So I'll have to go back and take a look at 70 and see why we didn't connect. But there's the Versiv. So now, you know what? Let me switch my screen here because you're looking at me, not at the Versiv. There's that Versiv right there. So if you connect into Guacamole, somebody just said I'm connected to 70. If I connect in there, I could come in and click on this test. And there's my test. And I could say, hey, I want to create a new test. And because these units don't have any modules in them, what we find is that we can come in and select whichever module. And this is a really important point when it comes to going in and setting up tests on the Versiv. You don't have to have the module in the Versiv to create the test. So you don't have to sit there at your desk and swap out modules. When you go in and set up the test, it'll look to see if there's a module in the Versiv. And if you want to set it up for that, that's fine. Otherwise, we can come in here and we can select which module we want to create it for. So this allows me to go in and set up a project using any of the modules that are available for this particular tester. So you can go in and build that. And this is one of the things that we really emphasize in class is the use of projects. That we go in, we create a project, we set everything up ahead of time. Now, even better yet, and unfortunately, we just don't have time to dig that deep into it in this short demo, but with Linkware Live. Linkware Live allows us to go in and set all of that up without having to be connected to the tester itself. This allows us to build the project, download it to the testers, and ensure that those are being run properly. This is great because I can see people are clicking around over there. I'm glad to see that you connected in and you're giving that a try. So let me switch back over here to me. All right. And we're going to close up this window right here. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about because we have version 6.2 out for the Versiv. So if you don't have version 6.2, all you have to do is on your Versiv tester, connect into Linkware Live by connecting either an Ethernet cable or wirelessly using a USB adapter. If you have a Versiv 2, you have that wireless built right in. Connect to Linkware Live into your account, and it will come up with a message and say, hey, you don't have the latest version. Do you want to load the latest version? Just hit the button, it'll download it, it'll upgrade the mainframe. Then you can use a USB cable to transfer that new code over to the remote, and you're all upgraded to 6.2 build 1. Now, if you don't have a Linkware Live account, maybe now's a good time to get one. So that way you can do things like do that over-the-air update of your Versiv. Now, if you don't have that and you don't want to set it up, there's a new version of Linkware PC out. That's version 10.2. You can put 10.2 on there, load the latest firmware, and then move that over to your tester. So one of the things that I want to show you with the new version of Linkware PC, version 10.2, is a kind of a neat little feature. So we're going to switch over here to our desktop. We're going to bring up our Linkware PC application. So this is 10.2 that we have loaded up here. And I'm going to zoom in because I want to make sure that this looks okay or somewhat okay on your screen. So we're going to come up here. And what we're going to see is right here under Options. If I click on that, there's now a place where I can put in device IP address. So we're going to come down here, and I'm going to put in an IP address right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to Tools on my Versiv in the classroom here. In fact, let's switch over to that. And it's kind of hard to see with that light on. Let me turn off the light and see if that helps. We've got my Versiv right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go into Tools. All right, so we've got our home screen. We're going to come into Tools, and we're going to come down. We're going to go to Network. And I'm going to see that right here that the address of my Versiv that I have sitting on my bench is 10.0.0. Let's see, 10.0.11.142. Great. So we're going to switch back over here, and we're going to come into Linkware PC, and I'm going to put in 142, and I'll hit OK. So now what it's done, and this is really kind of a neat little deal now, what it's done is it's connecting from Linkware PC to the Versiv using IP. So I don't know how many of you have gotten somewhere, you've forgotten a USB cable, now we have to transfer the results over to a USB drive, and maybe you don't have one of those, but we all have Ethernet cables. So we could go in, if you don't have one, you could make one. So we could go in and we could connect to that Versiv using IP. We don't have to use that USB cable anymore. In fact, if I come over here and I click on Show the Screen, we'll bring that up. There's the screen of my Versiv right there. So now, if I hit my home button, it's going to update that screen, and it's going to show me there's my home button. So this gives me a way that I can now connect into that Versiv without having to use the USB cable. I think that's kind of a neat little feature of version 10.2 of Linkware PC. So that's the latest version that just came out. So I highly recommend go to support on the Fluke Network site, download Linkware PC 10.2, and if you don't have a Linkware Live account, download the firmware for your Versiv and get that upgraded to 6.2. And what I want to do is I just want to show another feature that's added in with 6.2. So one of the things that happened was there were some features on the DTX that didn't get over to the Versiv, or especially with the DSX 8000 or DSX 5000, 8000. So one of those features that's been added in with 6.2 is the ability to do a spool test. So for example, I've got a box of cable back here. So if I want to go in and test that box of cable, I want to do a single-ended test. I don't want to put a remote at the other end because getting the other end out of there is going to be a pain. So what I did was I came in here, and we'll go ahead and turn that light back on there since we don't really care about the screen. So what I did was I went in and I put an RJ45 jack plug there on the end of this cable. So I want to run a quick test on this box of cable to see what the condition of that cable is. So I put that RJ45 on there. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to switch over. Let's see, we'll get that lined up right there. We're going to switch over to our screen there. So now I am going to go in and I'm going to set up a test for testing a spool of cable. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to select my test right there, and I am going to edit that test. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select Edit right there, and we're going to edit that test. Okay, now my cable type. Well, the box says this is Cat5e. So I'm going to come into cable type. I'm going to set that to Cat5e UTP. So this is unshielded, untwisted pair. Now, we need to keep in mind, and this is something that I've run into time and time again when I've gone out, especially with folks that are maybe using this in an enterprise environment. They think that setting the cable type is going to be good enough. Well, it's not. All really the cable type does, that sets our nominal velocity of propagation, which gives us an idea of how long that cable is. One of the most important things here is setting our test limit. So I'm going to come in and tap on that test limit right there. And this brings up a list of the test limits that I have available to me. Now, as I scroll down just a little bit, this shows me those test limits that I've used recently. And in this case, if you're going out and trying to set up that test limit for testing a spool, what we're going to find is that it is not listed in our last used. We're going to hit more. Now, if you're trying to do this on one of the Versivs that you're connected into, and I can see that somebody just selected TIA on there, this is where we run into one of those challenges. And in fact, what's going to happen is in some of these, I might actually have to scroll down for you because we have a little challenge with scrolling down on a couple of these screens. But in this case, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to come down to Other. And I'm going to select Other in this case. And this gives me all of these other tests. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll way down here to the bottom. And what I'm going to find is I've got a couple of tests right here. I've got TIA C5E, this is Cat 5E, cable, single end, LA. And we've got TIA C5E P cable, that's patch cable. So if we're testing solid cable, solid core cable, we're going to come in and we're going to use cable. If we're testing patch cables, we're going to use stranded cable. We're going to use P cable. The key here is we're selecting a test that is a single-ended test. Now, you'll notice at the end of that, it says LA, and that's a lab adapter. So there is a special lab adapter that is used for going in and testing cable, and it's going to give us a really good, clear view of what's going on with that cable. And that's something that I might do if I'm a cable manufacturer. However, in this case, we are really only interested in testing that, and we're going to use the channel adapter. I'm going to switch back over here to the GoPro because I want to bring up something, and this is something we spend some time in class talking about. With our channel adapter right here, when we go in and do our test, this connector right here is not evaluated. We do not evaluate the near-end crosstalk on the RJ45 jack or plug when we use the channel adapter. So what we see is that is why we do not use the channel adapter for testing patch cords, because we will ignore that RJ45 plug and all we're testing is the cable. And if all you're testing is the cable, well, that's going to be pretty easy. Now, in this case, what I'm interested in is I'm interested in the cable in this case. So I'm going to come in here and we are going to plug our RJ45 into that channel adapter, okay? So now we're going to come back to our test and we're going to come in, we're going to select, this is solid core cable. So I'm going to select TIA Cat 5E cable single end. And I can't select it on that screen like we can using VNC or something like that. So I'm going to select that. And we've got our test set up. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to say use that selected test. So there we go. We are doing a TIA C5E cable single end using a lab adapter test. So I'm going to go ahead and hit test on my tester. Now, when I do that, a message is going to pop up. And it's going to say that the adapter on the main unit is not compatible with the current reference or selected limit. That's because we selected a test limit that uses a lab adapter. It's just telling us, you know what, we're going to ignore that RJ45 jack right there. We don't care about that jack. Okay, neither do I. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit yes. We're going to go ahead and let that test run. So now I just got a dun-dun, and that's not the dun-dun that I really want, because that tells me that my test failed. Now, a few things that this does tell me out of this. It tells me that I've got roughly 416 feet of cable. Now, we see a difference in the length of our different pairs there. That has to do with the twist of the pair. So the tighter the twist, the more wire we have along that distance. So that's why when we go in and look at the measurement of how long this cable is, we always use the shortest pair. Now I'm going to come over here to performance. We'll tap on that, and now this tells me the tests that were run and where those tests failed. So in this case, we see that our length is 415. We could come in, I could select my near end crosstalk, and we could see that we've got our limit line right there. And this is going to show us what our test results were as compared to our limit line for a variety of different frequencies. And because we're just testing to our Cat5e right there, we tested, our limit line goes out to 100 megahertz, and it shows us where our worst margin is. So this gives us a way that we could go in and we could test that cable and make sure that cable is good. We wouldn't want to install cable that wasn't any good, right? So these are a few of the things where we can go in and we can use this new feature in version 6.2. So this is why if you have a Versiv unit, it is important that you go out and you keep it updated. And if you own one of these, those updates are free. So part of this has been to demonstrate what it is that we do in these classes. Now, one of the things that we just came out with the class is we've got these stickers now, and this is a CCTT certified sticker with the year on it. So every time you pass a certification test with either copper or fiber, you receive one of those stickers. You can put it on your hard hat, you can put it anywhere you want, just to show other people that you're a certified professional when it comes to using this equipment. Some other things, when you sign up for one of the online classes, what we do, and let me move this cable before I yank everything off of here, is, I guess I don't have, let me just see if I've got it out here. What we'll do is we have two books. We have a copper book and a fiber book. So for each class you sign up for, you will receive a book. So we will ship a book out to you, and you will use that book as part of the class. Also, the exam that you take at the end of the class is a 25-question exam. You need to get a 70% or better on that exam to pass and get certified. And it is an open book test. So that is one of the reasons why we ship you the book. And so if you sign up, within a week of the class, we'll ship you the book. If you sign up the day before the class, we can't get the book to you, but we can send you a PDF that has all that course material, and you can print that out. We send you this nice pen. Now let me switch over to the GoPro here, and I'll show you. This is something that I ran into. We were doing a class out at a site. I thought, it'd be nice to have a pen. But one of the things that this pen has is a stylus on it. So in this case, we'll turn that light off. If I'm out here using my tester, I can now use the stylus to drive my tester. So the great thing there is, if I have gloves on, it can make it hard to use that tester. So by being able to have a pen with a nice little stylus on it, I can use that to tap the screen, and I'm not getting fingerprints all over that thing as well. So we thought that'd be a nice little addition. So when you sign up for the class, we will send you the books, we will send you the pen, and then we have it set up so you can take the test online. So at the conclusion of the training class, you'll receive an email. There will be a link in that email to the online test. So then you can go in and answer that. You'll find out immediately whether you pass the test or not. Upon passing the test, Uta that works with me will send you an electronic version of your certificate and you're all set to go. So we've worked really hard to reduce the turnaround time as far as you taking the test, you getting the certificate, and you getting that information as quickly as possible. So we're doing our first class coming up here on June 25th and 26th. Then we'll have one in July on East Coast time, and then we're going to really start working on getting 2 classes per month, one on West Coast, one on East Coast each month. So that way, if you need to get trained, you're no more than a few weeks away from getting trained and becoming a certified cable test technician professional. And a recent Fluke Networks recently did a salary survey in combination with a few other organizations. And what they found was that people that are CCTT certified make as much as on an average, make 13% more than those that aren't. So this shows that you've taken the time to go out and really understand how to use this tester and be able to get the most out of it. So our classes are both a copper class, where we focus on some of the copper technology, and a fiber class. And in the fiber class, we cover both Tier 1, which is our optical length test set testing, our OLTS, where we look at loss and length, and Tier 2, which is OTDR. So we cover the CertiFiber Pro and the OptiFiber Pro in the fiber class. So I had a question come in, how much are these units? It's very much going to depend on how you configure that unit. I highly recommend that you contact your local distributor or Fluke rep and talk to them about how much that is. I really hate to quote any prices on a webcast like this, because there is a lot of variability in there as far as what options you get on that particular piece of test equipment. I mean, you can go out online and you can take a look at some of the pricing out there as well. So this was intended to give you a quick idea of what it is that we can do as far as this goes. What I'll do is I'll leave that CCTT1 user ID active for the rest of the day. So if you want to go in, or you know somebody that wants to go in and just take a look and see about accessing that, I can see that, by people going in and connecting in, that you were able to do that. That was one of the things that we really wanted to address. We wanted to make sure that you didn't have to load any software. In fact, if you haven't tried it, give it a try on your phone. Works great. Feels like you're using the Versiv analyzer right there on your phone. So let's see. Let me just take a look here. I put my glasses on to see the question. Oh, all right. So let me put one more thing out there. That's the important one. If you go out to www.cctttraining.com, and I'll put that right in there. That is 3 T's in the middle, cctttraining.com. That's the website right there. In fact, let's do this. Let me unzoom from this computer. Let me bring up my web browser right here. I'm glad you brought that up. That's always a good place to end with that. And one more thing to throw in that we really need to start promoting as well, and that is, if you have gold support on your Fluke Networks equipment, we are offering a 20% discount on the registration fee for the online classes. So if you have gold support and you're taking an online class, you get a 20% discount for having gold support. So what you do is, when you sign up, Uta will contact you, get her your gold information, she'll validate all that, and then before we send you the invoice, you'll get a 20% discount on that. So not a bad deal there. Okay, so let me bring up CCTT training, and let's go back over here. So there's the CCTT training website, and if we go out to event registration, right there, this is where we have our classes, and all you have to do, there's our online classes. Go ahead and click on one of those, and it's got all the registration information right there. Okay. All right. So what I'll do is, some of the questions in here, After we get done with this webcast, I'll get back to you on those, and we'll get whatever information you need. And one key important thing that I want to end with, this online training is US only. So if you have joined, for some reason you've joined from somewhere else, we're only offering this in the United States right now as far as network protocol specialist goes. So I just want to make sure that we get that out there. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me for this session today. We're going to be doing these at 8 a.m. Pacific time every Thursday for today, June 20th and June 27th. So if you'd like to join us for another session, please feel free. It's the same link. The same registration link works for all those. All right. Thank you and have a great day.